Around 2 years ago, I moved over here to Ore. I was living in Jukkasjärvi in the north of Sweden, and I moved here because I got a job offer working in painting, which is something that I haven't done before. So I was going a little bit in a different direction. I used to work as a lighting technician when I was still living in Germany, but after that, I started working as a sled dog guide, and that's what I was doing for quite some time. But it kind of started to take a toll on me in that it was always seasonal work and whatnot, so I tried to go a little bit of a different route. So now I kind of transitioned a little bit more towards like construction work and stuff like that. So currently I started working as a carpenter and also like do painting jobs as well and stuff like that, so it starts to go a little bit in a better route now than it used to. So less dog sledding in terms of like business wise, but just more private stuff basically. But also like the whole COVID situation made things a little bit more complicated. I was supposed to be on Svalbard for March, April, May basically. Didn't work out, so doesn't matter so much, I mean, there's always later days where you can do that, later time. So hopefully next winter. But anyway, so this May basically marks the 2-year anniversary, quote unquote, that I'm living here. Came here 2 years ago and just set up the tent and started building a whole dog yard while I was working, painting houses basically. But as you can see, the snow is starting to melt down here, so the season's pretty much over. We had a pretty heavy rainfall yesterday, so the snow is melting even quicker. It is, I don't know, it's like 7-8 degrees or something like that. It's quite humid at the moment, but anyway, I just thought I'm showing a little bit around. It's not super fancy or anything, so it's nice though. I like it. It's peace and quiet most of the time. I still have friends over there where I charge my power banks and everything. But otherwise, it's a little bit more of a remote spot here. And I can directly start out with a dog sled here and just go. It's a little bit tricky area here in that I have a lot of lakes around, which makes for quite a bit of a problem in terms of like getting out and go further distances. In the beginning of the season and also later in the season. This year, the lakes were holding up pretty well, so it's actually not that big of a deal, but it can be. Galina, you want to see Galina? Hi, girl. Hey, Galina is walking around a little bit, huh? Yeah, good girl. How are you doing? Yeah. She was in high heat, and now she's pretty much over it. She was supposed to have puppies, but I'm not 100% sure if they actually made it. Nipitorok, my big boy, is the father. Hopefully, if they have puppies, that's gonna be the father. He hasn't been a father since like 5 years ago, something like that. Tutu over there, he is he's a son, and he had puppies with Galina before. And that's Arctic there. What's up, Arctic? But this time I wanted to use Nippy again because he's such a good working dog. He's big. He's like 71 centimeters in shoulder. It's a big boy. But not only that, he is extremely good in terms of like commands and everything, but is also a super good worker. So that's why I wanted to use him again. But anyway, I just shortly wanted to show you my tent. It's nothing fancy, and it's still. It's like, it's quote unquote a bachelor pad in that I have a lot of shit laying around usually. So it's nothing super fancy, but just want to show you and tell you a few things. So come inside. So the most important thing on having a tent is obviously a stove, because you obviously don't have any insulation in here. So the stove is pretty much important. You have seen already a review about it. It's not good. I'm gonna replace it this year, but the plan was actually to either build a small cabin. I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna manage it time-wise, or gonna get. Hey, Galina, they always start eating dirt, you know, in the beginning of the season, in the summer. Anyway, so either I'm building a whole plateau here because it actually starts to get quite wet here. I had to put a pallet here again just because there was water running there. It's the ground is still quite frozen, so when you have heavy rainfall, it just goes over it basically. Usually it's not that big of a deal, but anyway, stove pretty important because the walls are so thin. You have to you just are protected from wind and from rain and from snowfall, you know. So everything else is a problem, quote unquote. But anyway, still works good though, you know. I just melt water in it, you know, and everything like that, you know. So it's it melts. I don't melt snow. I just get water, basically. But anyway, wood supply was handy to have inside here, you know. And then you obviously like you can dry out clothes and everything there. My bed, and I also have some other stuff underneath, you know, that I have easy access to. I just still use my normal Primus cooker here. You can see there's a little bit of downside of using just fuel-based stuff. Benzene, like you know, normal gas, you know, has a little bit more residue in the end, you know, smokes a little bit more, but since it is quite a big room, it doesn't have that much impact in terms of health. I mean, it's still not that good, but just have that in mind if you use normal fuel. It's much better to use refined, like alkaline fuel, you know, that is much cleaner, burns cleaner, and also preserves your cooker much longer. So have that a little bit in mind. Otherwise, I have a little table there. Here's my water supply, food and shit. It's nothing fancy, you know. The most important thing is actually the bed, of course. By the way, those covers there are just concrete insulation stuff. I use it to preserve a little bit more warmth. It helps quite a bit actually, and it makes that part a little bit darker as well. Camera gear, but what I actually wanted to talk about was how I edit videos and stuff like that, which I do straight on my bed, and I actually watch quite a lot of movies as well. So what you have to do is, if it's cold, you have to warm up your laptop, you know, because as you know, your phone, when it's like 0 degrees or colder, it's not going to work very good. So you have to do pretty much the same with your laptop. This thing here is a cooling box, and I keep stuff in there that actually has to stay cold, that have to stay warm. So I always have an Algene bottle with a cooler, with a heat shield or an insulator over it. Keeps it a little bit longer warm, the whole shenanigan. So laptop, take that out, but it's also the milk, you know. I use oat milk since I'm practically vegetarian and I want to reduce all of that. I still eat cheese though. Cheese you also have to stay warm and have to keep warm, because the problem is if you don't do that, it freezes up too slowly, and then it's like really ugly to eat it. I also eat bananas and stuff like that, you know. A lot of other stuff you can kind of keep cold, you know, or frozen or whatever, you know, and then you just make your meals like that. But when it comes to cheese and stuff like that, you definitely want to have that a little bit more preserved. The same effect when in the summertime, when it's like really hot, it's good to have the cooling box as well, you know, to actually keep your butter or cheese from melting. It's not getting super hot here because it is kind of a cold spot here, because the ground, the shade that is created by the trees actually helps a lot, you know, and it's good for the dogs, you know. The ground stays a little bit moist, which is sometimes good, sometimes bad, but it's actually pretty good, you know. Hey girl. Lady found her spot to lay down on. Yeah. Have to do some spring cleaning soon. But anyway, laptop. If you want to keep your laptop warm, you go into your sleeping bag and either put it between your thighs. That's one thing, or you just put it here closer to your body to just warm it up. And then if you want to start it, you basically have to directly put it on a power supply, you know, like power bank, and then it runs. Works pretty well. Obviously, you have to keep the stove going because otherwise it's gonna get cold pretty fast, and then it's gonna die out as well, you know. So, but yeah, that's how I watch movies and edit videos and all kinds of other stuff, you know. So, but it works. All right, that's a little tidbit. Otherwise, like I said, drying clothes and everything. The same goes for washing clothes and everything. Most of my stuff is merino wool or what have you. So I actually just clean it by hand. Warm up water, you know, and then just clean it out, you know. So it works pretty well. I quite often use dish soap as the first layer because to get it's, you know, the dogs they have quite a lot of fat and everything on them, so I get dirty and everything, you know, so it's actually good to do that first, and then I use um, a wool detergent or what have you, you know, and then I just rinse it out afterwards. That works pretty well for me. The same like with washing and stuff like that. I can still go and take a shower at my friend's place, you know, but you know, every other day I actually just clean myself out of a bucket, which sounds weird to most of you guys probably, but it still works pretty well. I kind of look forward to having in the summer, you know, just being outside, maybe even like, you know, in the rain, just showering myself in the rain. It's kind of awesome. It's kind of cool to do that, you know, so I kind of look forward to it. But anyway, that's a little bit on what's happening inside here. Otherwise, just shortly, um, that's my car over there. I have a quad that I'm still fixing up at the moment. There were some problems with the carburetor. Don't want to walk there, it's such a walk. But snowmobile, the same problem or similar problem. There's actually a blown piston, so some stuff to do over the summer, fixing those things up. I mean, the quad I have to fix up now because that's how I train the dogs with. And I'm gonna run that thing also on alkaline fuel because can't afford an electric one. Because you kind of like here in this area, it's quite up and down, you know. So, and the quad that I have is an old Suzuki from '88, and that one is pretty heavy actually. It's like 300 kilos or something like that, 350. Going up the hill, it's pretty heavy for the guys to pull. So I will partially run the engine, partly off. And if you run the engine on, obviously the fumes and everything. So it's good to actually run it on alkaline fuel. Burns much cleaner, like I said, you know, so that helps a lot. Otherwise, I'm running my trusty Cherokee, trusty in brackets, because I fixed it up a lot. There's a lot of shit that broke down or what have you, you know, so I changed the whole engine on it. But it's still better than actually getting a modern car, because usually you can't do anything on the modern cars regardless. You have to put that into service. An electric car is not an option in terms of money. But also, a lot of people are a little bit too hung up on buying that kind of stuff right away, just throwing their 10-year-old cars in the garbage, which is, in my opinion, not the right thing to do, but regardless. That's a topic for another day, I guess. Yeah, so I know it looks like shit a little bit, but that's usually how it looks like in the springtime. It's much nicer if you have a sunny day. It always looks a little bit better. All right, guys, have a good one.